Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sip and Talk. I'm Sunny.
And hello to all our Sip and Talkers out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Honestly, whatever time zone you are currently caffeinating in, we are super happy to have you. I'm Joe.
We have a really fascinating session lined up today, but before we get to the heavy lifting, you look like you're particularly scrutinized today. You've been staring at your reflection in your phone screen for like the last 5 minutes. Everything okay over there?
Oh man, you noticed. I was really hoping the studio lighting would be my friend today. I was just backstage looking at some photos we took last week for the promo, and I zoomed in. You know, the dreaded pinch and zoom of doom.
Ah, the zoom of doom. Never a good idea. I am almost afraid to ask what you found in the pixels.
Crow's feet.
Yeah.
Right there in the corner of my eyes, like little bird footprints stomping all over my youth. I smiled at the camera, which, I thought was a nice thing to do. Apparently, my skin decided to crinkle like a used napkin. I'm currently holding this iced Americano against my cheek, hoping the cold cup might, freeze time if I press it hard enough.
Well, while I appreciate the inventive use of an iced Americano cryotherapy on a budget, I suppose I have to be the bearer of biological reality here. That is just an inevitable process. It's awkward, it's unrelenting, but it is, scientifically speaking, just biology doing its thing. Gravity and time are the undefeated heavyweight champions of the world.
Biology doing its thing. You make it sound so calm.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here contemplating buying every single anti-aging cream in the drugstore. But you know what? Hearing you say that actually reminds me of this retort I was reading while I was backstage freaking out. It made me feel a little better, honestly, because it proves I'm not the only one.
Oh, what kind of report?
Yeah, it turns out human beings have been absolutely crazy, and I mean completely unhinged, about the fear of getting old for thousands of years. We aren't the first generation to panic over a wrinkle.
You certainly are not. In fact, if you look at the history books, humanity's resume is basically just a long list of people refusing to age and failing spectacularly. It is a comedy of errors, really.
Please tell me you have some good stories in your notes. I really need to know I'm not the only one losing my mind over this.
I have plenty. But let's focus on two of the most famous or perhaps infamous cases. These are what I like to call the great anti-aging scams of history.
Ooh, I love a good scam story. Who is our first victim?
We have to start with the patient zero of immortality anxiety, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China.
Oh, the Terracotta Warriors guy.
The very same. But to really understand the modern obsession, we have to look at the psychology of this man. Imagine his profile. He has done the impossible. He has unified the warring states. He built the precursor to the Great Wall. He standardized the writing system. He literally conquered everything in the known world. But there is one enemy he cannot conquer.
Death. The ultimate undefeated champion, like you said.
Exactly. And for a man like him, who was obsessed with control. He standardized the width of wagon axles. For crying out loud, death was the ultimate loss of control. It wasn't just fear, it was an insult to his ego. He essentially banned anyone from talking about death in his presence. And this fear made him very vulnerable to, let's call them creative entrepreneurs.
Oh, snake oil salesman.
High-stakes snake oil salesman. Enter a man named Xu Fu. He was a court sorcerer, and he told the emperor exactly what he wanted to hear. He told him that there was a magical place called Penglai Island, inhabited by immortals who possessed the elixir of life.
Of course there is. It's always on an island, isn't it? It's never like in a basement in the suburbs of the capital. It has to be a mystical island.
It has to be hard to get to. That's part of the marketing. If it's easy, it's not valuable. So Xu Fu tells the emperor, I can get this elixir for you. But the immortals are picky. I need resources.
How many resources are we talking? Like a wagon of gold? A chest of jewels?
Oh, much more. He requested a massive fleet of ships, provisions for years, seeds for crops, tools for artisans, and this is the kicker, 3,000 virgin boys and girls to offer as tribute or servants to the immortals.
3,000 kids? Are you serious?
3,000. And the emperor, desperate to smooth out his own metaphorical crow's feet, agreed. He gave Xu Fu everything. Xu Fu set sail with this massive fleet, the gold, the kids, the food, and he never came back.
Wait, he just ghosted the emperor?
Completely ghosted. Legend has it, he realized that returning empty-handed would result in his execution. He wasn't stupid. He knew the elixir didn't exist. So he found a nice piece of land to the east. Many historians believe it was Japan, and just settled there. He basically declared himself king of his new colony.
So let me get this straight. He didn't find the elixir, but he basically invented the first cross-border tourism scam. That is wild.
Precisely. It was a transnational fraud operation. But the irony gets much darker. While waiting for this magical elixir, the emperor grew impatient. He started taking interim supplements recommended by his other alchemists.
Let me guess. Not vitamin C gummies.
Not quite. He was consuming pills made of mercury.
Mercury?
Yeah.
Like the liquid metal in old thermometers?
Yeah.
Why on earth would anyone eat that?
This is the part that always fascinates me. It wasn't stupidity, it was bad data based on the logic of the time. To the ancient alchemists, mercury or cinnabar looked magical. Think about it. It is a metal, but it is liquid. It doesn't corrode, it doesn't rust, it moves like a living thing. They literally called it living silver.
Okay, I sort of see the twisted logic there. They saw these eternal qualities in the metal and thought, hey, if I eat this, I gain those qualities.
Exactly. It is sympathetic magic, like influences like they thought by consuming something undying, they would become undying. Instead, they were destroying their nervous systems.
Oh, no. That is horrifying.
Oh, yes. The historical records describe the emperor becoming paranoid, flying into absolute rages, hallucinating classic symptoms of heavy metal poisoning. He died on one of his tours, likely from organ failure caused by the very medicine he thought would save him.
That is tragic. He was literally decomposing while he was still alive, trying to stop the decomposition. And also a really good reminder to check the ingredients list on your supplements. Okay, so that's the East. What about the West? Did they fare any better?
Not really. The geography changes, but the delusion remains exactly the same. Let's jump forward to the 16th century. We have the Spanish explorer, Juan Ponce de Leon.
Ah, the Fountain of Youth guy.
That is the legend. The story goes that he was searching for a magical spring on the island of Bimini where, if you drank the water, you would revert to your prime.
Which sounds amazing, by the way. I would drink a gallon of that right now.
I'm sure you would. So Ponce de Leon sails around, searching every island, tasting every muddy stream. He never finds Bimini. Instead, he lands on this massive peninsula filled with flowers. He names it La Florida.
Wait, so he discovered Florida while looking for magic water?
Correct. He discovered it from a European perspective, of course. There were indigenous people thriving there long before he arrived. But here is the outcome. He didn't find the fountain. He spent years fighting mosquitoes, humidity, and hostile interactions. Eventually, he was struck by a poisoned arrow during a skirmish with the Calusa people and died from the wound.
Another one bites the dust. Mercury for one, poison air for the other. The pursuit of youth is apparently a contact sport.
But here is my favorite part of the analysis, the cold irony of history. Think about modern demographics. What is Florida famous for today?
Disney World. Alligators.
Think about who lives there.
Oh, it's where everyone moves when they retire. It's the retirement capital of America.
Exactly. Ponce de Leon was looking for the fountain of youth, but he ended up discovering the land of the elderly. He found the place where people go to be old, not the place where people go to get young.
That is surprisingly poetic in a very dark way. He found the waiting room instead of the exit door.
Precisely. So history teaches us that looking for a magic potion or magic location usually ends in heavy metal poisoning or a poisoned arrow.
Noted. Avoid mercury, avoid arrows. Solid life advice.
But this brings us to today's real topic. We are shifting gears from ancient legends to modern biology. The quest hasn't stopped. It has just moved from wooden ships to high-tech laboratories.
Right, because I kept reading that report, and it started talking about young blood, and I have to admit, it gave me a little bit of a spooky vampire vibe.
It does sound a bit gothic, doesn't it? But the topic for today is young blood secrets. Decoding the signals of longevity without a transfusion.
Without a transfusion? That's the part I like. I'm not big on needles.
The shift we are seeing in science right now is fascinating. Unlike the emperors and explorers who wanted a magical object, modern science is looking at biological signals. They're asking, what is the actual difference between the blood of a 20-year-old and the blood of an 80-year-old? And can we bridge that gap?
Okay, let's get into the vampire science. When we say young blood, what are we actually talking about? Is it the red stuff, the white blood cells? What is the magic sauce?
We need to be specific. We aren't talking about red blood cells, which carry oxygen. We are talking about the plasma, the liquid part of the blood, and specifically, we are looking at circulating factors.
Circulating factors. Sounds like an indie rock band name.
It does. These are the proteins, hormones, and messengers that float around in your bloodstream. Think of your blood not just as fuel, but as a communication highway.
So the young blood is sending different text messages than old blood.
That is a perfect analogy. We have identified a list of components, the ingredients of youth, if you will. We have growth factors, cytokines, hormones, microRNAs, exosomes, and metabolites.
Okay, that is a lot of science words to throw at us on a Tuesday. Let's break down the greatest hits. What's the most famous one?
The one that started the modern craze is undoubtedly GDF11.
GDF11. Sounds like a droid from Star Wars.
Growth differentiation factor 11. This molecule became a huge celebrity around 2013-2014. It came out of experiments at Harvard using a technique called heterochronic parabiosis.
Wait, I read about this. This is the mouse thing, right? Where they stitch them together.
It is biologically intense, yes. We need to be clear about what this is because it explains the mechanism. They surgically connect the circulatory systems of an old mouse and a young mouse. They literally share a blood supply.
It's totally Frankenstein stuff.
It is ethically fraught, certainly, but biologically it's profound. The two animals share a single circulatory system. The old mouse's heart is pumping blood into the young mouse's brain and vice versa. It is a complete systemic merger.
So the old mouse's liver gets help from the young mouse's liver.
Correct, and that's a crucial distinction we will get to later. Is the old mouse getting younger because of youth factors in the blood, or is it getting younger because the young mouse's kidneys and liver are filtering out the old mouse's toxins?
Oh, wow. That's a huge difference. Is it an infusion of good stuff or a filtration of bad stuff?
That is the billion-dollar question right there. But back to GDF11, the initial study suggested that GDF11 was the hero. It seemed to speed up muscle repair, improve nerve regeneration, and even reverse cardiac hypertrophy. That's the thickening of the heart muscle that happens with age.
Wow, so the old mouse got a second win just by borrowing the young mouse's blood.
That was the initial thought. But science is messy. Later studies, including a major one by Novartis, contradicted this completely. They suggested GDF11 might actually inhibit muscle regeneration in some contexts as we age.
Oh, so it's not a hero.
It is complicated. It turns out GDF11 is almost identical to another protein called myostatin, which stops muscle growth. The early tests couldn't easily tell them apart.
That is a massive plot twist. Yeah. So the miracle molecule might have just been a case of mistaken identity.
Or context. Biology is rarely binary. So the verdict on GDF11 is it's a potential player, but not a magic bullet. It's not as simple as inject GDF11, live forever.
Okay, so GDF11 is on the maybe pile. What else do we have circulating in there?
Let's look at TIMP2, tissue inhibitor of metalloproteinases 2.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with TIMP2.
Wise choice. This was found in high concentrations in umbilical cord blood, which is basically the youngest blood you can possibly get. Researchers found that this protein is linked to neuroplasticity.
That's the brain's ability to learn and change.
Exactly. It has the potential to improve learning and memory. It is like a software update for an aging brain.
I could definitely use that. I feel like my hard drive is getting full these days.
And then we have oxytocin. You know this one.
The love hormone, the cuddle chemical.
Correct. It turns out young individuals have much higher levels of oxytocin. And it's not just about social bonding. It is linked to muscle regeneration. So feeling the love might actually help your body repair itself.
That is so sweet. Literally, hugs are medicine.
But if we want to talk about the absolute cutting edge of the rock star of current longevity science, we have to talk about exosomes.
Exosomes. I have been hearing this word everywhere. It sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. The exosomes are coming.
It really is the hottest topic in regenerative medicine right now. Now, let me define this clearly because people get this wrong all the time. Exosomes are not cells. They are tiny, tiny vesicles. Think of them as little bubbles or envelopes that are released by cells.
Okay, little bubbles floating around.
They are delivery vehicles.
I like the analogy I came up with earlier when we were talking off mic. They are like the WhatsApp or Line group chat of your body.
Go on. Unpack that for us.
Okay, so every cell in your body is in this massive group chat. And the exosomes are the text messages they're sending back and forth. The instructions, right?
Yes. They carry RNA, proteins, and signaling molecules. They are the data packets.
So here's the difference. Young cells. Their group chat is lit. They are sending messages like, hey guys, let's go to the gym. Let's build some muscle. Let's repair that tissue. Party the mitochondria.
Party at the mitochondria. I like that.
But the old cells, their group chat is depressing. It's just endless inflammation reports. It's like, my back hurts, I'm tired, there's garbage everywhere, let's just give up.
That is shockingly accurate. But let's look under the hood of that analogy. What is actually inside the bubble that causes that shift?
Okay, let's get technical. Open the bubble.
Inside the exosome, you have microRNA. Now, do you know what microRNA does?
I know normal RNA builds proteins, but microRNA, is that like a smaller builder?
Think of it as a dimmer switch. MicroRNA doesn't build, it regulates. It attaches to messenger RNA and stops it from being translated. It literally turns genes off.
So young exosomes are carrying instructions that say what? Turn off the inflammation gene.
Exactly. Or turn off the senescent signal. When a young exosome fuses with an old cell, it dumps this cargo of microRNA into the cytoplasm. These molecules effectively reprogram the old cell's gene expression profile. They aren't just providing fuel, they're changing the software code the cell is running.
That's incredible. So the old cell still has the machinery to be young. It just lost the software update.
That is the epigenetic information theory of aging in a nutshell. We don't lose the hardware, we lose the instructions. Young blood, specifically the exosomes, seems to restore the instruction set.
See, it is all about communication. Even at the cellular level, nobody likes a complainer in the group chat.
But this brings us to a massive paradigm shift. And this is where it gets really interesting for anyone listening who wants to apply this.
Oh, the twist. Let's hear it.
For a long time, we thought aging was a deficiency. We thought, oh, I'm getting old because I ran out of the magic juice.
Like running out of gas on the highway.
Exactly. But the new theory is different. It's not just that we lack the good stuff, it's that we have accumulated way too much of the bad stuff.
The toxic waste.
Precisely. We need to talk about inflammaging.
Inflammaging. Inflammation plus aging. I love a good portmanteau.
It is a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. It's like a fire smoldering in the background of your house constantly. It's not a raging inferno, but it's melting the wiring and warping the floorboards over decades.
And who are the villains here? Who is starting these fires in my metaphorical house?
We have a rogues gallery. Chronic inflammatory factors like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, metabolic waste that builds up because our cleaning systems get slow, free radicals. But the worst offenders are what we call SASP.
SASP. Sounds like a special ops team.
It stands for senescence-associated secretory phenotype, but let's call them by their nickname, zombie cells.
Zombie cell. I knew vampires would lead to zombies eventually.
These are cells that have stopped dividing. They are severely damaged. They should die and be cleared away by the immune system. But they refuse to die. They just sit there in a state of senescence.
They're squatters, just taking up space and not paying rent.
Yeah. They are toxic squatters. They don't do any work, but they secrete these SASP factors, toxins that actually damage the healthy neighbors around them. They basically poison the local water supply.
So one zombie cell can turn the whole cellular neighborhood into a slum.
Exactly. So the conclusion of modern science is shifting. Rejuvenation might be 10% adding good factors, like the young blood, but it's probably 90% removing the inflammatory and toxic signals.
It's not about taking more supplements. It's about taking out the trash.
Beautifully put. If your house is full of garbage, buying new furniture doesn't solve the problem. You have to clear the junk first.
Okay, this is all fascinating, but I can hear everyone listening and myself asking the big practical question. I am not going to stitch my circulatory system to a 20-year-old, and I certainly don't have a billionaire's budget for high-tech exosome injections.
Fair point.
So how do we do this DIY style? How do I get these effects without a transfusion? Can I hack my own body to make this young blood?
You absolutely can. In fact, you can create a system to simulate young blood circulation using basic lifestyle choices. And the science rigorously backs this up.
Give us the list. What is step one?
Step one is the closest thing we have to a magic pill: exercise.
I knew you were going to say that. It is always exercise.
But let me explain why in this specific context. It is not just about burning calories. When you exercise, your muscles actually act as an endocrine organ.
Wait, my biceps are a gland.
In a way, yes. When muscles contract, they release signaling molecules called myokines. These are essentially homemade youth factors. They travel through your blood to your brain, your skin, your heart, and tell them to repair.
So when I do a squat, I'm basically squeezing out a little dose of anti-aging serum into my bloodstream.
Yes. Exercise increases IGF-1, antioxidant enzymes, and crucially, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That is essentially miracle grow for your brain cells.
Okay, so what kind of exercise? Are we talking running marathons every weekend?
No. The protocol matters. We need weight training to stimulate those myokines. We need HIIT, high-intensity interval training, to shock the system. But recently, there is a massive focus on Zone 2 cardio.
Zone 2, that is the talking pace, right?
Exactly. It is a steady effort, roughly 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. You can hold a conversation, but you'd rather not. This specific zone optimizes mitochondrial function,
The powerhouse of the cells.
the biological power plant. When you train in zone 2, you force your cells to burn fat and clear lactate efficiently. It cleans up the mitochondria, making them efficient again. It reduces the exhaust they produce, which directly lowers inflammation.
So jogging while gossiping is basically a medical procedure. Got
Yeah.
it. I can do that. What is number 2?
Number 2 is diet, but specifically an anti-inflammatory diet.
Let me guess. Vegetables.
The primary goal is lowering the noise of chronic inflammation. We want high fiber to feed the gut microbiome, omega-3s like in wild-caught fish to counter inflammation, and polyphenols,
Blueberries, green tea.
dark leafy greens. These foods actively dampen the inflammatory signals in your blood.
This completely validates my desire to eat more salad, but mostly it validates my blueberry obsession.
Obsession is a strong word, but in this case, a healthy one. Now, number 3. This one is absolutely non-negotiable: sleep.
The cleaning crew.
Exactly. We talked about taking out the trash. This happens primarily during deep sleep.
I've heard about this. The brain literally washes itself while we sleep.
It is called the glymphatic system. When you are in deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink a little bit to open up gaps, and cerebrospinal fluid washes through, flushing out toxins like beta amyloid.
That is wild. It is a literal car wash for your brain.
And it also triggers the secretion of growth hormone and activates autophagy cellular self-eating, where cells digest their own broken parts and recycle them.
So if I pull an all-nighter, I am basically forcing my body to live in its own filth.
Brutal, but accurate. Lack of sleep equals artificial acceleration of aging.
Okay, I am definitely going to bed early tonight. What is number 4?
This one is interesting. Hormesis, or low-dose stress.
Stress. I thought stress was bad for us.
Chronic stress is terrible for you. Acute, short-term stress is a signal. It tells your body, hey, wake up, survival mode. And your body overcompensates by becoming much stronger and more resilient.
So what counts as good stress?
Cold showers, saunas, intermittent fasting.
Cold showers.
It shocks the system, it kicks longevity genes into gear, improves mitochondrial function, and helps clear out those SA-SP factors we talked about earlier.
So I have to freeze myself to stay young.
Ideally, just for a few minutes at a time. You don't have to move to the Arctic.
Okay, fine. A quick cold plunge. And the last one.
Number 5 is social and learning.
Oh, this is my favorite one.
We mentioned BDNF earlier. Learning new skills like a language or an instrument and building strong social relationships boosts BDNF levels significantly.
And travel.
Yes. Travel introduces novelty, new maps, new languages, new foods. Your brain has to actively work to navigate a new environment.
I love this point so much. So treating travel as a life goal isn't just me being irresponsible with my savings. It is actually a biological anti-aging strategy for my brain.
I will happily sign off on that logic. A stagnant brain ages faster. A curious, challenged brain stays plastic.
I'm booking a flight immediately. For health reasons, obviously.
Before you pack your bags, we do need a bit of a reality check. Because there are people who aren't satisfied with eating blueberries and jogging. They want the shortcut.
You mean the actual blood transfusions?
Yeah.
The real vampire stuff?
Yes. We have to talk about the Ambrosia case.
Sounds like a Greek myth.
It was a U.S. startup called Ambrosia. A few years ago, they literally started selling infusions of plasma from young donors ages 16 to 25 to older clients.
Oh my gosh, how much did that cost?
Oh, $8,000 a liter.
$8,000. That is some extremely expensive juice.
It was. And it garnered a massive amount of media attention. But here's the problem. The FDA stepped in and intervened. They issued a stern safety communication warning consumers against it.
Why? Did it just not work?
The scientific consensus is clear. Animal experiments are interesting, but human clinical evidence is severely lacking. We just don't have proof it works in humans the way it does in mice. And worse, there are very real risks.
Like what? What happens?
Allergic reactions, transfusion-associated circulatory overload, potential infections. Your immune system might look at those foreign proteins and completely reject them.
So you pay $8,000 to potentially get a massive allergic reaction and zero anti-aging benefit.
Exactly. The risks far outweigh the hypothetical benefits.
So the main takeaway here is don't get scammed by high-tech promises.
Fact check, don't let the science fiction appeal blind you. The boring stuff. Sleep, diet, exercise has massive amounts of peer-reviewed data proving it works. The vampire stuff, not so much.
Stick to the gym, skip the blood bag.
Got it.
Now, before we wrap up today's research, there is a fascinating sociological twist to this whole story. We started with Qin Shi Huang and his desperate fear of death.
Right, the guy who literally ate mercury to try and live forever. But when we look at the modern generation, Gen Z, we see a completely different sentiment playing out.
Oh, totally. I was actually talking to our friend Mickey about this, Mickey from the Mickey Life channel.
Of course. Great guy.
He was mentioning some survey data he saw, and it aligns perfectly with what I have been hearing. Gen Z, they really don't want to live to be 100.
It is a stark contrast. Recent surveys show a literal refusal of longevity. You constantly hear phrases like, I don't want to live that long.
It's a total vibe shift. Why do you think that is?
Well, we can analyze the reasons from the data. First, economic and survival pressure.
Yeah. High housing prices, rampant inflation, political instability.
And the looming threat of taking jobs. If you tell a 20-year-old, hey, you're going to live to 100, they don't hear, yay, more time. They hear, oh no, I have to pay rent for 80 more years.
That is terrifying when you put it that way. Living to 100 sounds like working forever to them.
Exactly. Then there's the crucial distinction between health span versus lifespan.
This is the key. Gen Z prioritizes the quality of life over the length. They fear the nursing home visual. They want to be fit and traveling at 25. They don't care about just being biologically alive at 95 if they can't even move.
They want to be squaring the curve.
Squaring the curve. What does that mean?
Imagine a graph of your health. Usually it goes up, peaks around age 25, and then slowly, steadily declines until you hit 0. The goal now is to keep that line completely flat and high until you are 90, and then drop off a cliff.
The one bad day theory. Live like a 30-year-old until you are 90 and then just don't wake up one morning.
Exactly. And ironically, the science we just discussed, the young blood signals, the exosomes, supports that goal much better than the immortality goal.
How so?
Because things like removing senescent cells, the zombie cells, or boosting autophagy via fasting, these interventions don't necessarily make you live to 150, but they absolutely stop you from getting frail. They keep the joints working, the brain plastic, the inflammation down. This isn't anti-death science anymore. It is anti-decrepitude science.
Anti-decrepitude. I really like that. Freeze the peak.
Exactly. Maintain the capacity to travel, to think, to move freely. That is what this biological science actually offers.
I like that. That feels so much more achievable and much less scary vampire to me.
So let's bring it all home. What is the main provocative thought or takeaway for you today?
For me, I think it's realizing that youth isn't a substance in a bottle. You can't buy it from a sorcerer or a tech startup. It's a physiological state. It's low inflammation, high repair. It's a vibe your body is in.
And my takeaway for everyone listening is, instead of flying to Silicon Valley for illegal blood swaps, just go to sleep early tonight and let your brain detox. Your body already has the machinery. You just have to stop clogging it up with junk.
And eat your blueberries.
Indeed. And just a quick disclaimer for our listeners. We are offering objective facts and international perspectives here. We are not doctors, and this is definitely not medical advice. We are just two friends sipping coffee and exploring the data. We always encourage you to think critically and do your own research.
Absolutely. Please don't go stitching mice together in your basement.
Please don't do that.
Well, that was a great conversation. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to our Sip and Talk podcast. We love having you here every week.
And a quick shout out to our old friend Mickey. If you need some of that travel B, D, and F stimulation we talked about, check out his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life, for his latest travel vlogs. The man definitely knows how to keep his brain young.
He really does. Go check it out. All right, partner, I am going to go do some squats and drink some green tea.
Sounds like a solid plan. See you all next time.
See you next episode. Bye.